Well, staying in the U.S. Capitol, we're now joined by political analyst Eric Ham to talk more about this. Thanks very much for being with us. So, what's your reaction to the news today? A dark day for American democracy?
It certainly is, but it's also a resounding day because now we see accountability for the actions that took place on that fateful day on January 6th. And also, I think what's so important about what we saw from not just this indictment, but from the words that we actually heard from the special counsel is that he is going to go for a speedy trial. That's something that he wasn't able to get in that classified documents case before a Trump appointed judge in Florida, but it's likely to happen here. And so I think we could actually see a verdict in this case even before the classified documents case. And one other interesting point of note is that we have also heard from the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, who also has charges against Donald Trump, who has said that he's willing to move his trial date to give Jack Smith time to actually bring this case to trial. And so I think now what we're really beginning to see is just how culpable Donald Trump is for those events that took place.
But again, going back to the political dimension to this, and it is really unavoidable because the former president remains determined to run for president again in 2024, despite all of these legal problems, all of these upcoming trials. Could we really see a scenario where he is the Republican nominee for president and he's also on trial?
We have already heard from Donald Trump just a week ago when pointedly asked the question, if you are convicted, will that hinder your ability to run for president? And I think for the first time, we got a window into how Donald Trump sees these charges that continue to pile up against him when he said that there is nothing in the Constitution that stops him from running for president, even if he is convicted of crimes. Now, and so I think what we're seeing here is Donald Trump is going to continue his march towards the nomination and towards the White House. Will these charges, will possible convictions somehow hinder his ability to actually achieve his goal? That's the question that remains to be seen. But what we're seeing now is these charges continue to pile up. And based on what we saw in this 45-page indictment, the evidence, again, is insurmountable and striking.
Sure, that's certainly not the picture you get when you talk to many of Trump's supporters, though. And when you, just more broadly speaking, when you look at what's happening in the U.S., to a lot of people outside the country, it looks like a very divided country right now. Is this likely to add to that?
Oh, absolutely, it is. I mean, look, the reason, if you go all the way back to Nixon and Watergate, one of the reasons that we saw President Gerald Ford pardon Richard Nixon was so that the country could heal, come together, and move past that fateful and dark time. That doesn't appear to be the case in this situation. And what we continue to see is the polarization intensifying in the United States. These charges and Donald Trump constantly out on the stump saying, using words like witch hunt, weaponization, politicization, that is only going to fuel, I think, the rage and the distrust that many people have in the government. And if there is a conviction, I think it's only going to potentially tear the country apart. The question is, what happens if there is a conviction, and how does the country actually move past this when you have a potential nominee, a former president, who is tried and possibly convicted on a slew of charges ranging from both state and federal crime?
Indeed, a lot of questions remain over what's likely to happen over the next months on this. Good to get your thoughts on this, Eric Ham. Thanks for being